Good morning, everyone. Happy Taco Tuesday. How's everyone doing today? Very, very light day. Good morning, John. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Jacob. Or good old morning, Jacob. Good morning, Sterling. Sterling, this week's some news and other. That's fine. I mean, there isn't much going on this week. It's a pretty good week to have that problem, Sterling. Is everybody else on vacation or what? You're manning the whole fort? All right. I mean, this is a very light week. We have big release tomorrow, CPI. We'll see if the market does anything with that. Good morning, Tony. But other than that, yeah, this is just a week again. Not do anything stupid in my book. Uh, Stocks just slowly grinding higher, and when they grind higher like this, we're setting up a wedge pattern on the S&P, running out of momentum to mark 13 sell signals in a lot of places, sell setups. So, could get interesting. Cycle's still trying to roll over. What do we have today? We have the NFIB Business Optimism Index, a slight bounce from prior and higher than consensus. Red Book, little drop in that from prior, but again, nothing that's really market moving. Tomorrow, remember, please do not forget the CPI numbers coming out at 8:30 Eastern Time. S&P map right now. More bad news out for Tesla, but it was sales and everything in China. But still climbing, trying to bounce back. Meta, finished the double. Amazon actually hit the second target on the double. So some of these doubles still playing out. Groups, we got energy leading the way with crude still holding up. Only thing negative is financials. Everything else is positive going into the open today. Fed watch still has a pause for next week. Remember, Fed meeting 8 days from now, which is pretty much a guaranteed pause. But the press conference will be key for that next week. Still in greed mode. Schiller PE still almost 37. Apple had their developer conference yesterday and really disappointing on the AI stuff. Nothing to talk about with that. So we shall see. What else? We have GameStop after the close, Dave and Buster's. But again, there's just earnings are really. I mean, it's wound down. We have Oracle tomorrow and Adobe and Restoration Hardware. So not much to talk about there. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Anissa. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Royal Palms. People filtering in for the reason that the market is just, whew. So we keep pushing up higher. RSI we're doing a sort of a double top pattern on the S&P. We have this wedge. This is what I'm watching. So my first key area I'm watching is 59.95. Which was already tested this morning with the European Open, roughly. And we rolled it, but I'm really watching this 4-hour 50 EMA in the bottom of that wedge, not necessarily for today, going into tomorrow because we could get a potentially bigger sell-off. Where could that go? Well, let's see. Shoot. Wrong one. I mean, if that were to really break down, it could potentially take us back to the 50 EMA area, not even below this key low from the 23rd of May. Now, overall, we technically have a bigger wedge pattern, but we'll address that if we finally start breaking down. To the upside, we've really stalled out at this harmonic, trying to grind higher. Again, on a rotation up, I'm keeping an eye. Well, key support, again, 59.95 area for me. Key resistance is about the 60.24, 60.25. We go through there. I'm watching for the high area from yesterday. 60, 38, 60, 40. And above there, we have the harmonic 60, 52, 75. That's really about it. Again, we start closing below 55, 90, 59.95. That would take us below the 4-hour rotation zone, and then I'd be watching to retest something around the bottom of that wedge area. Who else do we have in here? AS, good morning. Good morning, Harold. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Richard. Oops, password, oops. What? Uh, so, oh, this was, I won't put it on the screen again. just ignore Richard's password. Richard, that's one you're going to need to change. There's not really a wedge here. There's a bigger wedge pattern in the NASDAQ, not a smaller wedge pattern. The key thing I'm keeping an eye on still, right around this 21,700. You can even go 21 about 720. The breakout level I'm looking into the open is 21,817. Then we still haven't ticked off the 22,000 harmonic. So I'm still watching for that. So major resistance between 21,960 and 22. So that's where we sit. Again, these markets just don't do silly, at least in the stocks today. At least in stocks. Nothing to talk about in the S&P. Again, everything's pausing unless something comes out from the administration or we get the CPI tomorrow. Russell, that's the only breakout thing. Again, I'm still targeting that 2189 area, but we are in the rollover zone at any point. So, seeing if I can get back here. Other than that, your support right now is 2126. Again, there's not much to talk about. VIX, just dead going into the CPI. DAX, little move down to bottom of the rotation zone. DAX is also stair-stepping down with momentum and the RSI. Cycles heading down. But not much to talk about unless we get that close below the rotation zone. The yields pulled back a little after stalling out the 62.5, but again, just a little pullback right now, roughly in the same consolidation area we've been in before. Nothing to talk about there. Dollar index, stuck in a consolidation. Still watching above that 99 level for a potential breakout or key support around 98. 99.98. Crude is interesting. We closed above the key resistance area on Friday, followed through again, coming in at that 66 area, harmonic high of 65.98, so not quite there yet, but key support at 64 now with the rising separating rotation zone. So, still hasn't hit my first target, just shy of it. But crude is getting interesting. Now, it's overbought and cycles at the top, so we can easily start pulling back. I'm seeing if we can take out that harmonic first, which is major, major resistance, by the way. Gold, as I said yesterday, watch yesterday's high, especially on a closing basis. That's what I'm keeping an eye on. We've poked above it and trying to just build a little base. I'm keeping an eye into the open of the stocks with this little double top. Otherwise, if we start holding up this base, again, that's yesterday's high, which could turn into a percent beat buy. So unless that little mini double top triggers, I'm in a bullish bounce mode with gold now. Silver, on the other hand, we have a potential double top, running out of momentum, running up here, setting up the double top. Again, would not be short in this, but short term would be looking for pullbacks. Pullback cycles at the top, very overbought. So would I be chasing silver higher at this point? No, I'd be looking for the pullback. Looking for the good old pullback. Let me change the color of this so it doesn't confuse me. There we go. Looking for the pullback closer to the daily rotation zone. All right, so gold, we might get a bounce in. Silver might get a pullback in, so a short rotation, and then we could see another push higher in silver. Platinum also. Platinum, it's not really a double. I'm just watching it in case we break down below about 1206 for the pullback there. Again, very overbought, very extended, but that's nothing I would short. I'd be looking for the pullback. Good morning, Bull Strike Cheetah. What else do we have? Euro, not much to talk about here. Not much to talk about there. If it does break above 1446, we could have a quick trip to 115. Well, I should say 114.46, 115. Little breakout play there. And then I'd watch for the little bigger pullback in the dollar. But that does nothing to invalidate still this massive double top. Spiders. Same thing here. Another wedge play there, potentially. So you can see it right here. Here's your little mini wedge. So roughly, just keep an eye on the daily rotation zone for the breakdown play there because it's virtually in the same area. Your key support before that is 597. All right. That is your key support. Other than that, you don't have a lot of great targets in here just yet, but if you need one in the short term, about 602.50. The Qs, let's see here. See, not more of a horizontal channel right here, not a wedge pattern. Not a real wedge pattern here. But on a break above Thursday's highs, for last Thursday's highs, you still have the minor target 537.55. The key support area I'm looking at right now is 526.35 area. What else? I see your question, Sterling. Hold Bitcoin in potential double top territory. That's the only thing that would shift me to pullback mode in Bitcoin. Let's take a look at this other stuff. I have a more advanced double question. Check out Hood. Would you trade that as a 1 hour, 4 hour double top considering the pattern does not exist on the daily? Let's see. Would this be traded? Let's make sure it qualify. It does qualify. Yeah, that can be traded, but you're going into the rotation zone right there. So I would have only used that as a pullback play. But yes, it is valid. It was valid. Would I have been shorting that? No. Because you're trading right smack dab into that rotation zone. Again, these doubles that go straight to a daily rotation zone, I generally look for pullback plays or odds inverse on double bottoms. All right. What else do we have? Amazon finally hitting the second target. I was looking right in front of 216 because when something's just on the other side, I generally go to the round just in front of right around that round number. So that's where we sit there. I'm going to be watching more so for the Apple, though. If really pay attention, if Apple does break eventually below this base, because again, WWDC pretty disappointing, and Apple still trading at a 31.82 price to earnings ratio. This thing longer term, I'm watching for another breakdown play in that. NVIDIA, little wedging higher, little wedging double. Interesting here. Things are looking very, very toppy, but we don't have key sell setups yet. We might get them if CPI disappoints tomorrow, but we're getting a lot of exhaustion potential sell setups that have not triggered yet. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Hey, movie magic moments. Can I check the 12-month of LSTA? LSTA. I checked it. The 12-month. Let's just see. Is there? There is not. Wow. No, that's you're not looking at a double. Your only thing would be it's just a horizontal consolidation pattern. You need a real break above and a follow through close above about 410 to do anything from the long side there. So not much to talk about there. I mean, this thing's just chopped back and forth, dead. Little ramps up, little ramps down, but on a bigger pattern, you need a close above that 410 area. Apple needs to ramp up acquisitions or will really be left behind. Apple needs to do something. Apple, I think, needs a new CEO. That's what I think needs to happen. What else? Broadcom pulling back, setting up potential percent B buys here from yesterday's high for a bounce play. That's where this is where another key thing. This is now where, because this is run really far, really fast, came out with earnings. This is where I'm looking for the secondary reaction. Could be setting up a more significant topping area in Broadcom also. So, just don't force anything today. Heading into the CPI number, lots of stuff. Just potential sell setups that have not triggered yet. And we'll just have to see if those do trigger, what kind of pullback we get. Because this is really running out of momentum in that high area where it stalled out at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So, Tim Cook is cocked, or is that cooked? You should say Tim Cook is cooked. That's where we sit. All right, I don't need to keep anybody any longer. Again, there's just not much to talk about today. We'll have to see, to be prepared for that CPI number tomorrow, and maybe we'll get finally some more movement. Finally, some more. What do you see in the last 3 Tesla daily candles? No, besides more bad news is there's no double here. So I'm just watching, again, closer to the 320 area to possibly 330 for another breakdown play. Cycles at the bottom, watching for another bounce, and then roll over in here. But there's nothing here. I was looking for a double. It didn't pull back far enough. So right now there's no double targets, but I'm watching this key breakdown area. You know, just if you're going to do the gap fill, it's technically to about 332. And that's very key resistance. All right. Everyone have a fantastic day. Don't force anything if it's not there. That's why, for stocks right now, there's nothing for me to do unless we start triggering some of these sell setups. I'm more focused on stuff like crude, silver, gold. I'm not touching rates yet or anything besides managing positions in stocks because there just aren't a lot of good setups right now. So I'm managing positions. And hopefully we'll get something going at tomorrow morning. So I'll talk to you all then. Bye for now.